Thanks, Toby, for inviting me to share again. I'm not getting as much notice this time because it didn't leave me quite as much time just to rattle around thinking, what am I going to say? So, yeah, thanks, Toby. I'd like to start my share by just saying when I walked through the doors of CA nearly 3 years ago, I was absolutely broken. Completely lost my way in life and completely lost control of my drug taking. Just basically a shell of a man is probably the best way I can describe it. Barely functioning with my work. I'd lost my marriage. We'd sold our house. I hadn't seen my children for 2 months, and yeah, just absolutely broken. Rewind 21 years. Is where it all started, but you know, I hear people share about their childhoods, and you know, different people have got different journeys from the start. But to be honest, my childhood was absolutely fine. You know, loving parents, they worked hard. Neither of my parents suffered with this illness, or even really drunk at all. Really, I don't know really where it came from with myself, but I think the only thing I can take from my younger years is I was never satisfied with anything I had. Always wanted the next thing, always wanted something better. Just generally never ever grateful with anything, whether it was trainers, music, whatever it would be, just completely dissatisfied with everything and always craving the very next thing. And then just trying to scheme really on how I'd get it or what I'd do to get it and that type of thing. I suppose compared to some of us, I was probably a bit of a late starter. I don't even think I smoked cigarettes till I was 16. But I did play quite a bit of squash as a kid, and sort of around 13, 14, we'd play squash, and it was quite a social environment, so that's where I first started drinking. But even then, it wasn't a case of having 1 or 2 pints and, you know, being sociable. It was drinking to oblivion. And, you know, when I look back now, at the time I thought I was having a great time, but I look back now and I can't remember probably more than one night in my lifetime where I've not gone out and drunk to oblivion. So I'm the guy that will drink more than everyone else, but I'm also the guy that will be puking in the corner or crawling out the door, or, you know, just some sort of really crappy end to the night. That stayed the same until I'd finished college, and at college the rave scene had taken hold, and I went to a local club. My mate and I were having a pretty good night, and then someone just said, "Oh, does anyone want any E's?" And that was that. I bought my first E, and got absolutely smashed. And the feeling off from that night was I can only describe it really as electric, euphoric, whatever you want to say. Really good time. And from there, that became my Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for the best part of probably 3 to 5 years. And for a long time, it was purely recreational. It was all a good time. It was always with my friends, and it was always lots of pills and lots of weed and hardly any sleep, and absolutely no problems with that at all. I met my now wife 15 years ago, and we met at a festival called Homelands, and so we were both, you know, dropping pills and doing all that sort of stuff, which was fine. And when we got together, it was always, you know, at some point we're going to get married, and when we get married, we'll knock it on the head. And for a long time, I genuinely believed that was going to happen. But what did actually happen in real life is my wife stopped taking drugs, and I didn't. And it carried on for a while with her, if you like, permission or her allowance. And at some point, which I can't really remember, I just crossed over a line, and Thursday became a new Friday, and it became Wednesday, and then before I knew it, Every day of the week it was one drug or another, whether it was smoking cannabis or dropping pills or snorting coke. To begin with, the coke was pretty crap. I believed it to be cocaine, but I think it was probably bashed with all sorts. And it's one of those things where it was just get more, and then eventually I came across someone that did some quite potent stuff, and I'd always craved, I want better gear, and then when I got it, it was too good, if that makes sense, and it just literally got me twisted, and I couldn't put it down. The wife and I decided that we would have our first child, and again, genuinely said, I'm going to give this up, I'm going to knock this on the head. And my little boy was born, and the night he was born, she had to have a C-section, so she had to stay in hospital for a couple of days, and I left the hospital, and you have to leave at sort of 10 o'clock, and went straight out and scored some coke and got straight on it. And I lied, barefaced lied to my wife, wasn't doing it anymore, even though she knew. I was coming in from work very late at night, absolutely pranged, never wanting any dinner, spending, vast quantities of money that we didn't really have. And that went on for quite a few years until my second child was born, and again, I'm definitely going to give it up this time. This is definitely going to be enough, and again, it wasn't. So 5 years ago, we were going out for a New Year's Eve meal with our friends. My wife pleaded with me, we're going out for a meal tonight, please, no coke, just have a couple of drinks and let's just have a nice evening. And for most of the evening it was no problem at all, and then the friends, or say so-called friends that I was with, were like, come on, let's get some coke, and I ordered some coke, which I didn't tell my wife about. Someone dropped it off. We went home, and my wife said she was going to bed, and she went upstairs, so I put a big line out on the side, and next thing I can hear her thundering down the stairs. Most normal people would probably wipe it off, or something like that. Literally trying to clear up the whole line, and that was it. I was out. She threw me out there and then, and again, most normal people were like, "Oh God, that's my wife. That's my relationship. What am I doing?" But not me. Chose it as an opportunity to move away with work, and that was it. Then I thought I can move away and do what I want, be who I want, and I don't have to answer to anybody, and that was my downfall, big time. Every day, without fail, I'd wake up in the morning, I'm not doing any more gear. I'd go to work, whether it was a good day, whether it was a bad day. On the drive home, it would always be, I'll just get one tonight, and I'd get that one. I'd do it really quickly, and then an hour later I'd go back and get some more, and then go again and again, and basically every night for nearly 3 years. I did ridiculous amounts of cocaine. I knew deep down that I was, losing everything. At this point, I hadn't seen my wife for a while. I hadn't seen my kids, and I got a big envelope through the post, and I opened the envelope up, and my wife had issued divorce papers, and that was, I think, like a real moment for me where I was just like, oh Christ, she's really serious. Which is amazing. I hadn't lived at home for a couple of years, and hadn't been much of a husband. The only thing I did was pay the mortgage, and that was it. And so I don't know why it came as a surprise, but that was something that sort of shook me quite badly. And it was only at that point that I really admitted to myself that I definitely had a problem with cocaine. See, rightly or wrongly, I'd always thought to myself, well, I don't smoke crack, I don't do heroin, I'm not an addict. But But if anyone even mentioned the word cocaine or getting some chop or anything like that, I'm there like a shot. So I can definitely identify myself as an addict without exception. I phoned the doctors. Doctors got me in. Naively, I packed a bag thinking they're going to lock me up or do something. So I went into the doctors all with my backpack, all my stuff, and he went, oh. He's like, how much do you take? I went through it, and he went, oh, okay. I'm going to make a referral. And I was like, okay. What happens now then? And he goes, well, you wait for a phone call. So I'm like, all right. I was like, is that going to be now? And he went, no, it'll take about a week or two. So I was like, oh, shit. So I left the doctors, but something had changed in me from the point where I'd admitted and I'd phoned the doctors and I'd asked for help. Basically, I hadn't picked anything up for a couple of days, and that was, I don't know, just an exception to the way I'd behaved for the last 15 to 20 years. I didn't want to do anything, but I knew if I didn't do something about it, I was definitely going to use again. And I got phoned by what was the BAT team. They asked me a load of questions about my using, and again, packed a bag thinking, right, I'm getting off. And the last question the lady asked me, she said, do you commit crime? And I was like, no. And she went, oh, well, we can't put you in treatment if you're not committing crime. I was like, okay. What happens now then? She says, oh, you need to have a one-to-one. I was invited into the Pink House on Oxford Road, and amazingly had a one-to-one with someone that was just really blunt and just said, you need to effing stop it, and you need to get yourself to an effing meeting. And it was that blunt, and no one had ever spoken to me like that, other than my wife, obviously, who I just ignored at that point. But yeah, and I found myself coming through the door. The first night I come here, I parked up in the car park, I got up here really early, and I sat watching people walk in, and I was like, maybe it's not for me. I was thinking of a million reasons why I didn't want to go in. But at this point I'd got nearly a week clean, and I knew that I was going to read out or just get straight back on it if I didn't see something about it, and I walked through those doors. To be honest, stepping through those doors, very fearful, humiliating to a degree, because I'm admitting that I've done all this sort of stuff, but from the second I walked in, there's smiling faces, everyone was like grabbing my number and explaining loads of stuff to me, and straight away I saw the unity, and I just felt a really warm buzz in the room. And I sat down and listened to the first share, and the guy was talking about different drugs, and he was talking about a slightly different journey, but he was talking about this relentless obsession that I had, and I identified with that straight away. And that brought me back for the second week again, still no real help, apart from the fact that I was coming to a meeting and I was doing something about it. And in the second meeting I heard, you've got to get a commitment, you've got to get a sponsor, you've got to go through the work. And I was like, oh, okay, that sounds like a good idea. Grabbed myself a sponsor, and he was good enough to give up his own time and go through the work with me. Going through the work for the first couple of weeks, first couple of months actually, it was like, yeah, totally on board, doing everything that was suggested, turning up to the meetings, doing my bit, and everything was fine. And before I knew it, I'd amassed 6 months of clean time, and this was, brilliant. My wife, because I was still seeing my kids, had seen a massive change in me, and basically said, I want you to come home, I want you to move back in, I can see a difference. But I basically started to slip away with the programme, and I didn't finish my step 4, and after just over a year, used again, and used really heavily in one night, and next day completely baffled. I've got this amount of time under my belt, why am I in this position again? And I walked in, I didn't hide myself this time, I walked into my wife, I'd been up all night, obviously looked horrendous, and still I've used again. And just to see her face, she was absolutely broken after wanting me back in the house and wanting me back around the kids. So I phoned my sponsor, grasped myself up immediately, and this time embraced the work and got on with the 12 steps. I got a commitment, started off as the greeter, and then worked around and did 3 or 4 commitments within the group. I've been through the 12 steps now. I have got sponsees. I have started working the traditions recently, and I absolutely love this meeting and what 12 steps and the message that Kane Anonymous has given me. My life now is completely different. I was previously very selfish. It was all about me. It was all about me having a good time. It was all about me getting wrecked. And I'll be honest, I very rarely think about using drink or drugs. Occasionally, I have a fleeting thought. But the work that I've put in to the 12 steps has given me a toolkit to be able to deal with those urges. And, I don't have that craving anymore. But giving up the drink and drugs was just the first part, because I needed a behavioural change as well, and the 12 steps has helped me go through and change my behaviours, so I can be a dad to my kids now, so that I can be a husband for my wife. At work, I'm now reliable and trustworthy. I'm not falling asleep at my desk and driving off God knows where to do whatever. I'm there now, and I'm helping other people through the work, which is amazing. And the difference now, I don't chase money like I used to chase anymore. I'm satisfied. I'm very grateful for the things that I've got, and they may not be the best things or exactly what I would have wanted years ago, but I'm really, really grateful for what I've got. And without exception, that's down to the 12 steps and CA. My life is a million times better than what it was before, and I think the way I'll leave it is, if you are a newcomer, or you're not working the programme the way you should be, or you haven't worked the programme and you want to, grab a sponsor, do what they tell you, get a commitment, do your meetings, and put as much effort into working the programme as you would have scored in drugs, and you'll be absolutely fine. I'll leave it there.